All right, Raider Nation, it's True Raider coming at you with another video. So, this report came out, right, where Ian Rapoport was asked if he believed that the Denver Broncos or the Las Vegas Raiders were more likely to trade up in the draft. And what he said was that he believes that the Broncos are probably not going to be moving up in the draft. And he really believed that there's a good chance that the Las Vegas Raiders might give it a shot. So, I mean, in looking at this, it's pretty clear that Antonio Pierce is very interested in just making a splash move and moving up. Now, if Tom Telesco is or not, that's a different story. But I really found it interesting that Ian Rappaport is talking about this because if you look at what's going on with the Las Vegas Raiders, I mean, and I've said it before, we have a very good team kind of all the way around. We have a couple of small holes to fill, but I believe that those holes could be filled. There's still a little bit time of free agency, and there's also, the opportunity to be able to draft some of these holes later with in the draft with some of the later draft picks, right? So when Ian Rappaport was talking about this, he did say that he believes that it may be difficult to move up, but he really thinks that the Raiders are going to give it a shot. And I honestly believe that the Raiders are going to give it a shot as well. I think that they're going to do anything in their power to see if it's going to be possible to move up. There was a recent report, and I did make a video about it with the Cardinals talking about being willing to move on from pick number 4. And I'm seeing conflicting reports. Some people are saying it's going to take 3 first rounders to move up to number 4 from 13. And there was another report that went out that said it's only going to cost next year's first rounder, which I thought was very interesting, right? You trade pick number 13 for this year and then the first round pick from next year and move up to the number 4 spot. To me, if that is actually the price to move up, that's a no brainer, right? Because to move from 4 to 3 or from 4 to 2 is a little bit easier, and you could move, add some future draft picks into that, maybe even a second or third, or being able to move the 2026 first round pick. There's a couple of options, right? And really, there's a lot of contracts that have gone out that are looking like they're mostly 2-year deals for the Raiders, right? And some of them they're listed as 3-year deals, but if you really look at the breakdown of the contract, it's really a 2-year deal with a third-year option. And if that is what's going on, some people have speculated because we have yet to see the contracts for Antonio Pierce and for Tom Telesco, that maybe they have a 2-year kind of prove it thing going on. And if they do have a 2-year prove it, then I think it's very important for them to go all out right now and be able to get that quarterback of the future, because like Ian Rappaport was saying in this interview, that at least they could say that they got their guy of the future, their quarterback for maybe the next 10 years. And that's an important piece because really, if they don't make this splash move, if they don't get into the playoffs and maybe even make a deep run into the playoffs, then what we're looking at is Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco might not be here in 3 years. And if that's the case, what is it to them to mortgage that pick that's going to happen 3 years from now? Because what they're doing right there is they're gambling on themselves. Because if they move up and they get their guy, and it turns out to be a successful pickup, well, then they can deal with the fact that they moved on from some of those future picks, but they'll have their quarterback of the future. So that's a no brainer. But if they move up and they get their guy, they take away future draft compensation. And after moving up and getting their guy, let's say that he's a draft bust and it doesn't work out very well. Well, they're not going to end up having a job, maybe. And if that's the case and they end up not having a job, they don't have to worry about not having those draft picks because they're not there anymore. So really, I see in a lot of ways that, they're going to put the effort to move up in the draft. It's just whether those draft picks are going to be sold by the teams that are in the top 3. We know the 4th pick is available, and we can see if there's a bidding war on that and what that actually looks like. Because what we think that it might be worth and what it actually turns out to be worth are going to be 2 different things. Now, there's been a couple of rumors swirling of, you know, the Patriots might not be sold on picking at number 3. And then there was another rumor that went around, and these aren't very credible sources, but where there's smoke, there's fire. Sometimes these rumors just start off small to just kind of plant it in people's heads to try to see if they can move up and see if they can up the price of these draft picks. That the Commanders, may not be sold on picking at number 2. And the way I see it, and I've talked about this before, is if I was the Commanders, if I was the Patriots, I would not be looking at picking a quarterback at number 2 or number 3. I wouldn't. I would be looking at trading back and picking up more draft compensation, especially if it's future first rounders, maybe throw in some extra second rounders this year, and then not moving that far back. If you're moving, a couple of picks back, or maybe 13, or even the middle, somewhere in the middle or late first round, and being able to get those extra draft picks is very important for teams that really have a lot of building to do. Now, the Commanders did, add some defense. They did add Austin Eckler. They did kind of make some pretty good moves during this offseason so far. But I don't think they made enough moves to really be a a winning team right now. And I really look at I consider it to be the Justin Fields effect, right? Where you had Justin Fields got drafted, the Chicago Bears moved up to number 2. They drafted Justin Fields, and they're like, "Yes, we have our quarterback of the future." And it's really to be said whether it's a Justin Fields thing or a Chicago Bears thing, right? And we're going to be able to find out a little bit more now that he's on the Steelers, right? Because the Steelers are a winning franchise. But what happened was the Bears did not have a team around Justin Fields. So they go get quarterback first, and then they start building the rest of the team later. And during the process of building the rest of the team, you're having Justin Fields is thrown out to the Wolves. He's struggling. He's really not being able to put up the numbers that they expected Justin Fields to be able to put up, and you really put him in this weird position where he couldn't really thrive. Now they started building the team and they really stacked it up this offseason, and now they moved on from Justin Fields, and they moved on from him for a future sixth rounder that could potentially move into a fourth rounder depending on playing time. And now they're going to go and probably get Caleb Williams. Now Caleb Williams is going to move into a starting quarterback position with the Bears in a good situation. They've done some work on the offensive line. They've gone out and they got a good running back, Swift. They got some receivers for him. They really stacked that offense up and put Caleb Williams is going to be in a position to succeed there, where Justin Fields was not. Now, if the Commanders or the Patriots go and do the same thing, then we're going to end up in this situation where they go get a quarterback and they set that quarterback up for failure. So really, if you move on and you get some extra draft picks and you build, the offensive line, the offensive weapons, go get those things first. Then you bring in a quarterback next year or the year after and really put that quarterback in a position to succeed. Because you don't want to end up having a quarterback for 4 years while you're building a team, then have to be paying a huge contract to that quarterback once you actually have a team. Like some of these teams that are really showing some success have that quarterback on a rookie deal. They're being able to pay some of their superstars, big contracts while the quarterback is still on that rookie contract, because you see like Justin Herbert, with the Chargers, where they paid him this huge contract. And now that they paid this huge contract, they're in a position where they are in cap hell. They, brought in Jim Harbaugh, and he had to move on from all of the offensive weapons. They moved on from both receivers, their running back, and their tight end. Left Justin Herbert with virtually nothing. Another thing that I see as being possible is JJ McCarthy is really moving up people's draft boards. And I like this, right? Because JJ McCarthy is not somebody I want the Raiders to pick up, even though he did, at the combine talk about how he would like to be the villain, things like that when it concerns with being drafted by the Raiders. I really think that if JJ McCarthy really moves up draft boards, that means that there's a better chance that Jaden Daniels or Drake May can fall down into that number 4 slot. Now, I don't think JJ McCarthy is a better quarterback than either Daniels or May, but it could be that another team thinks that. And if that's the case, and JJ McCarthy is the third quarterback off the board, it really opens the Raiders up to a position where we could move into that number 4 slot with the Cardinals and pick up on a quarterback of the future. And I don't think that the Raiders are going to move up just to pick up JJ McCarthy. But I do think that they would consider taking either a 6'5" Drake May or Jaden Daniels, who's obviously AP's guy at that pick. The only other option at this point is, for Jaden Daniels to pull a Peyton Manning and say, no, I'm not going to go there, and try to work his way down the draft, or be in a position where he's demanding a trade right out the gate. And I don't really think that that's what's going to happen. That seems like the conspiracy guy that's on the cork board trying to plot out, like, well, if this happens and that happens, then maybe, and right now it's all speculation. We got a couple of weeks left until the draft, and I'm sure there's going to be tons of rumors and tons of speculation. I've seen a lot of people in Raider Nation panicking as far as saying, let's go get a quarterback in the 4th round. I don't think that's the move for us. I really don't. Like, do I think Jordan Travis is a good quarterback? Yes. If we pick him up for cheap, sure, right? But I really feel like that's people really giving up on the thought of being able to move up and get a quarterback, and even thinking maybe we won't get Michael Penix Jr., and I see some benefits to being able to pick up some big pieces in our cornerback room and in our offensive line in the first 2 rounds, and then picking up on a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round. I see how that could help our team build, but that's really just putting us in a position where we're saying, well, we're settling for a possible wild card season. And we got some superstars on our roster: Devontae Adams, we got Max Crosby. We just picked up Christian Wilkins. We got a couple guys out here that they don't have a whole lot of time to just be waiting around. And if we wait around too long, we're going to be in a position where we finally get that quarterback and then he has nobody to throw to. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see us lose our superstars on our roster. Josh Jacobs has already moved on, and I think that was more about money, but he said things about, the contract and just kind of feeling like, he was wanted there in Green Bay. I don't want that to happen with some of our other superstars where they feel the need to move on because the Raiders are not moving up fast enough. I also don't want to see us in a position where we make some very conservative moves and end up losing Antonio Pierce because we just didn't make the right roster decisions. Because right now, like, the locker room, they're fired up, guys. They are fired up. Max Crosby is out there with 10 defensive linemen on a daily basis working out, and they're buying into his mentality. They are really going all out, and I really think that we have all the pieces in place to be able to really have a great season. All we need is that quarterback one. Let me know what you guys think. Please let me know in the comments. Hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.